I want to tie in two things on this little rant of mine today. One is from Lawrence O'Donnell's segment last night on MSNBC, The Last Word, Thursday, March 12th, 2015. McCain and others are coming to regret the letter. I'm going to tie that in also with Michael Gerson's, I don't know how to pronounce his name, from the Washington Post this morning, Friday, March 13th, 2015, the true scandal of the GOP letter. And let's go into it. The GOP wrote the letter. It sucked. It was pretty stupid. It really didn't. It really made them look childish. It also made them look like they really didn't know how to govern. I want to get into all aspects of that, but let's get sort of started. That after that letter came out, they were trashed by right-wing papers. They were trashed by left-wing papers. A lot of people have come to say that this was a really foolhardy thing to do, is especially with the stakes this high, is that, there's a lot going on here. Now, let's get to one of the most important things about all of that, is that these negotiations with Iran are being conducted by the United States, France, Germany, England, Russia, and China. They all have their reasons to go in on it. I've explained that in a couple other rants before. Now, we're coming up on a very vital time where some decisions have to be made. We need to move forward, or, we need to go back and tighten the noose with more sanctions. That's where we sort of are right now. The Republicans wrote this letter pretty foolhardily, sort of showed that they didn't know how to govern, that they really don't even know the U.S. Constitution in some regards, and that they're trying to say, pay attention to what we have to say, don't pay attention to what the president has to say, totally undermining his argument there. And the argument that they wanted to have on all of this is that we want to have more say in it, is something that should have been presented to the American people and not to the leaders of Iran. So, German foreign minister had something to say about how that this is not a trifling matter. This is an important matter, and we don't need this little charade of enthusiasm by the Republicans that they want to get involved in this thing at the last minute. And that even Iran has indicated that they know enough to know about what's going on, that this is an international treaty, that the Republicans should just stay the fuck out of it and let us finish our negotiations. Now, Lawrence's show brought up a very important point about all of that, and that is that under normal circumstances, the way that the Iranians have acted in the past, they would have taken that letter from the Republicans and said, "Oh, we can't trust Obama to do any of this kind of stuff. Let's blow this whole thing up, and let's make it ourselves even more hardline and work for a harder deal." But they're really not doing that. They're dismissing the Republicans, and they're staying in the negotiations, and the Ayatollah and some of the other people who are actually continuing to back the people who are negotiating on behalf of Iran with this international group from those 5 or 6 countries that I mentioned, 6 countries altogether that I mentioned. And what does that mean? That means that Iran is very serious about coming to a deal. Are they going to try and negotiate the best deal possible? Yes. Are they willing to basically almost walk away from the whole thing before they come back to the table like everyone does? Yes. Is that something that we need to be willing to do to hold our position? Yes, we need to be willing to walk away from the table. So these are high-stakes negotiations. There's all kinds of bluffing going on. There's that walking out, being insulted, all of this other kind of stuff. But they're getting close to the end. We still got a week or two. Well, actually, 10 days, the 24th, I believe that it is. So we'll see what happens. But the fact that Iran is staying in the negotiations and just puffing off and saying, hey, GOP, get the hell out of here, let us finish our talks, indicates that the seriousness of all of the things are going on. Now, what is a good reason why they're doing that? Why are they staying in the negotiations? What is the benefit to them? Because remember, I said everyone has to win. Now remember right now that Obama has sanctions on Iran. They've been on Iran for quite some time. And these aren't just willy-nilly sanctions, and of course he could have even more sanctions. But right now they're not part of the international banking system. That means they can't trade their oil for dollars. And that's how oil is marketed around the world. It's traded in dollars. So guess what? Their economy has gone down. the value of their currency, the real, I believe it is, has gone down about 2/3, 60%, something in that neighborhood. That's a huge hit on a country. Can they absorb it? They're doing their best to do it, but they need to find a saving face to get out of it. And that's what all these negotiations are part of. We need to have these negotiations. Now, to bring up the last point, Michael Gershon from the Washington Post basically indicates that it doesn't bode well for the Republicans that they even know how to govern. Now, I don't want to go into Tom Cotton. Maybe I'll go into him on a separate rant. But, much smarter people in the Senate should have read that letter, taken it to heart, and really blown the whole thing up and not let it get signed or go off on it. Somehow, whoever was a staffer for McConnell should be let go, because once he sort of signed off on it, everyone else just signed off on it without reading. But not only does it show the Republicans can't govern, but they're fucking crazy. And if they're telling that to Iran, it almost tells Iran, I'd rather deal with Obama and all of these other people than those crazy nutcases. And, it's done, I won't say it's done harm, but it's actually hurt the Republicans in terms of actually being able to say, we want to take a look at this thing. We want to advise and consent. We want to vote on it. It's sort of blown that whole thing up. Way to go, Tom Cotton.